Happy Saturday. Kelly Stewart here. WagerTalk last call live on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Make sure you guys jump in the comments section. Ask any questions you want from our handicappers. Today we have Bryan Leonard talking some college football. Ronald Cabang with some MLB and WNBA. Andrew McInnis has already got a play for you guys in the first half for next Sunday and some CFL. Like, subscribe, do all the fun things here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel because we're here bright and early on this beautiful Saturday morning just for you. All right, we're going to get into it. We got a quick show today. Going to keep it under 30 minutes. Mr. Bryan Leonard, going to bring him in. One of the old school mentors. Let's see. You've been at WagerTalk since day one. I missed the green screen days when, or the green room days, I should say, when you used to help me out with some of my handicapping. So you're here to help out all of our guys in the chat box today. Bryan Leonard, we got a big number here. Rice at Texas. JT Daniels has played this Texas team 3 times in the past 3 years with 3 different schools. Does that help him out here at all?
We'll have to see. I think this is a great spot here for Rice. You know, it's always a big game when a little brother gets to take on the biggest program in the state. And it also helps that this is the first game of the season, so the Owls can give the Longhorns their full attention. Texas, on the other hand, has a show-me game next week on deck at Alabama. You tell me which team will be more motivated for this game here. Rice also gets to stay in Texas the next 2 weeks with games against Houston and Texas Southern. So I like the spot here for the Owls. The Owls have consistently improved under Mike Bloomgren. The last 6 seasons, going from 2-11 campaign in 2018 to 5-8 a year ago. So this is a team on the rise. They've only had 1 losing season as a road dog in his 6-year tenure. The offense has improved this season, and we feel the Owls could be a nice moneymaker for their backers all year long. Texas had a rare losing season in 2021 with a 5-7 market. They bounced back to win 8 games last year. So in 2 years under Steve Sarkisian, the Longhorns are 13-12 straight up. Now they do lose everything running back Bajan Robinson, but bring back quarterback Quinn Evers and top recruit Arch Manning. So this is a team right now that has a really strong quarterbacking. They're also deeper this season than in the past, and I think their future looks very bright for Texas fans. But with Alabama on the schedule next week, we can see the bench players gaining some experience in this one. Just too many points to late for the Longhorns. We only made this line 30.5, so we've got a nice advantage here. I know when you get up into the higher spreads, you need to have a little bit of a bigger differential than you do under the lower spreads. But I think Rice is in a nice spot here, and Texas is a team that I always seem to think is overvalued. And so we're going to play Rice, taking the big points in this game tonight.
I love it, Bryan Leonard. I always know that Texas is overvalued. And no, I'm not a Texas hater. I'm just a realist. I agree. Alabama on deck. Rice having an experienced quarterback here. But I am going to play devil's advocate. Our good friend Ralph Michaels came on Bet on It this week, and he talked about historically how these big spreads, especially over 35, we know are not necessarily in our favor. Do you have any rebuttal to that? They hit almost at 60%. And so, you know, we have a couple of those today. We have USC, who also has a game under their belt. Any kind of rebuttal to that?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said about that. The only thing is, go back and look at the teams that have Alabama on deck the next week.
I love this. I love it. Good answer, Bryan Leonard. That is very true. I'm sad I'm going to miss that game in Tuscaloosa. Had an opportunity to go. It just does not work out scheduling rise. Let's see. Coastal Carolina at UCLA. Coastal made my long list here this weekend. Bryan, can you tell me why you like them?
I'm actually going to go against Coastal in this one, and it's tough. It's tough to go against them. I got to tell you, this is a team that's come out of nowhere the last few years. Yeah, the Santa Claras have really made a name for themselves the past 3 seasons, going 31-7. Quarterback Grayson McCall has been a main reason for that success, and rarely does a program of this stature have a signal caller who's going to be playing on the next level. So it's a very good team. They made a lot of people money over the years. Tim Beck is taken over in Conway, South Carolina, and the team has a new offensive and defensive coordinators. I think that's a major negative here, opening up the season against a very good UCLA squad. When you got a new coach, new offensive defensive coordinators, when you've had a lot of success, could throw a little bit of wrench into their system early in the season until they get everybody on the same page. The Bruins under Chip Kelly have really put it together the last 2 seasons after winning just 10 games his previous 3 years in Los Angeles. They do lose starting quarterback Thompson Robinson, but they recruit very well at that position. They return 16 starters and look to be in contention for the conference crown. This is a program on the rise. With only San Diego State and NC Central on the horizon, the Chanticleers will get their full attention in this one. We made this line 19. The line's basically 15.5 in that area. That's enough for us to play it. We're going to play UCLA and lay the number here.
All right, Brian, we're going to have a couple of questions from the chat box. Remember, guys, you make this show. Boise State, how you feel about the over? Dashfire wants to know, Bryan Leonard.
Well, I'm not a big totals guy in college football, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to answer that for him. But this Boise State team seems to be underappreciated every single year. I think they are once again this year. So that's a team I think we can make some money on. But for the total, unfortunately, I can't lead you one way or the other.
Then I'm going to kick it back to you about Boise State. I joined our good friend Marco D'Angelo from the Bet On It show. He laid 2 touchdowns with Washington today. I kind of have to wonder, maybe Boise State might be a square dog.
Washington is a team everybody's talking about. And usually when all these teams get all this press in the offseason, that's a team I'm looking to fade a little bit. Obviously, this is a big game for Boise as well. These two teams know each other well. I'd be into taking the underdog if I played anything in that one.
All right, we got one more question from the chat box. Don't forget to jump in there, guys. We've got Cabang coming up, followed by Andrew McInnis. Vegas, Gianni, how much should we take into account the new first down rule? How should I play it? I know college football can be very volatile.
Yeah, right now it's looking to be about a six play differential in the game, 6 plays less in that regard. But if you've got a team that runs a fast offense, I think those are the teams that are going to have a really good advantage in these games because they're just going to pile it on. And if you get a tired defense at the end of the games, that's a really good way to pile it on there and add to it. So I think you have to take it as an individual team situation. If you get a team that plays a lot of plays, I think they're going to have a higher advantage in that than a team that like runs out the clock and takes every second of the clock in the game.
Awesome stuff from Bryan Leonard, a guy I really respect. One of my mentors in this world, has just been crushing baseball this year. So make sure you guys head over to WagerTalk.com and see what Bryan has up to offer. Next up, we're going to bring in Ronald Cabang, talking MLB and WNBA during football season. Well, he is one of the best WNBA handicappers we have over at Wager Talk. You can catch him with Jay Money, Hakeem Profit. Those guys break down all of those games for me because, let's be honest, we only have so many hours of the day. I love when we bring on guys that specialize. But first, Cabang, we've got Angels versus Oakland. And you guys jump in the chat box if you have a question for Ronald. We got Ronald muted doing his job. You know, these guys, I run a tight ship here at Wager Talk. I always yell at everybody to mute their mic in the background so we don't pick up any background noise. Ronald, good morning.
Kelly, you kind of make me nervous. This is my first time doing a show with you, so you got me a little bit nervous. I muted my mic and all that stuff. So, but you know, this game here, I'm pretty excited about this one. I know the A's just embarrassed the Angels yesterday, 9-2. I think the Angels can bounce back here and get the win today. Canning will be on the mound for the Angels. He is 7-4 on the season, 17 starts, has a strong 10 to 2.5 K to walk ratio. His ERA isn't great, 4.38, but his xERA and xFIP are below 4, telling me that he may be performing better than his surface level numbers ERAs suggest. So we may see some positive regression here, especially when you're looking at one of the weaker offenses in the league. Paul Blackburn is on the mound for the A's. He's 3-4 on the season through 15 starts. Weaker K to walk ratio compared to Canning. His ERA is right around 4. His advanced numbers are right around there as well. So he's been pretty consistent on the season, but I think where the difference is from the offensive perspective. A's 30th in batting average and in runs per game. So not expecting them to consistently put up the type of numbers they did yesterday. Angels, on the other hand, 11th in runs per game and upper half of the league in most offensive categories, except for steals. I know they've been dealing with injuries and roster movement and all that stuff, but for the most part, I still trust them to do their part in being able to get the win here. I think the starting pitchers are pretty even. Canning excels at striking batters out. Blackburn has a better ERA. Canning has trouble keeping the ball in the park, but shouldn't have that much trouble with the A's offense here. So I mean, from a surface level, I think they're pretty even, but I think Canning gets the advantage here from a matchup perspective. I think the Angels have the edge offensively, and Angels have the advantage from the bullpen as well. So things to me look like the Angels should be able to get this one pretty easily. My model has it as a 5-4 type game, and I agree with it. So that's the way that I went today with Angels on the money line. I think you can get it at -125 here.
All right, -125. Make sure to check the WagerTalk odds screen so you can find the best money lines available. All right, we're going to pivot to WNBA. Jump in the chat box if you have a question for Ronald. The WNBA Storm. All right, talk to me about this team and why you like their team total under.
Yeah, this is a Storm team that I know pretty well. I'm from Seattle, so I follow them pretty well here. They're pretty much the worst offensive team in the league. They average 78.6 points per game. Season, they have the worst offensive rating in the league as well. While the Aces are the #1 league in defensive rating throughout the season, and they've been consistent with it throughout the season as well. So especially when they're playing at home, they've typically dominated those games. 17-1 on the season at home, 12-5-1 against the spread. They allow opponents to score 76.4 points per game at home, and now they face the worst offensive team in the league. So I'm and their team total, the Storm team total, is right there at 76. So to me, a lot of those numbers, advanced numbers, kind of point towards them allowing less than 76.4, which is what they average at home there. But from a trend perspective, is where a lot of it comes from. The Aces as 15-point favorites or more, 6-3 against the spread, 6-2-1 to the under, allowing just 73.6 points per game. Aces second game home after a road trip, 4-1 ATS, 5-0 to the under, allowing just 70.6 points per game. Storm, on the other hand, double-digit road dogs. They're 4-0-1 to the under, averaging 73.8 points per game. And the head-to-head matchup is where it really makes sense to me. They played each other 3 times so far this season, and they failed to score over 64 points against the Aces in all 3 games. And like I said, the total today 76. I think they struggled to get to that point. From a spread perspective, I would lean the Aces. I stayed away just because they failed to cover in 6 straight. I'd lean the under. I stayed away from that just because the Aces can really turn up at any specific time, and they dominated the Storm team all season long. So what I did play was that team total under. I just trust what I feel from the Storm team, and that is going to be them struggling to score 76 points there. So team total under. I think it's going to continue to move in that direction as well. So I would if you guys like that breakdown, I would take that earlier than later.
All right, good advice from Ronald. Ronald, you mentioned you're from Seattle. Just coincidentally, we have a question in the chat box about the Seattle Mariners. Omega wants to know, do you like Seattle today after yesterday's loss?
Yeah, I do have I run a model here in the MLB, and I'm gonna be honest, I do have Seattle with the edge there. Just looking at the line though, it's something where -135. I have that number closer to like -125. I don't see the value from a money line perspective. I do think that they're gonna bounce back, but my triggers tell me that I have a couple games that are a little bit better, and I don't want to spread too much out there. Um, my opinion is, yeah, I feel like they're gonna get that win tonight, but I didn't play it personally.
All right, good stuff from Ronald Cabang. Been on a heater, 35-15 in his last 50 plays at WagerTalk. Ronald, have a wonderful Saturday. All right, guys, jump in the chat box because we're going to bat clean up here with Andrew McInnis. We've got a play already for next Sunday and some CFL. Welcome in, Andrew. Let's see what he's got on deck for Sunday.
Kelly, good to be here. How are you doing?
Doing well. You know, it's Saturday, college football. Tick, tick, tick. Waiting for kickoff here in about 44 minutes. Exciting stuff. Glad to have you with us, Andrew. So it's Saturday, September 2nd. And you're already giving us a play for week 1 NFL. Tell me why you like the Ravens in the first half over Houston.
Yeah, and here's the deal, Kelly. I mean, look, I leave the college football to you guys. You know, I do a little bit of college football. I bet a little bit. People will see me releasing 1%, 2% plays, but with guys like with people like you, Bryan Leonard, and so many great cappers at WagerTalk, I'll leave the college football to everybody else. Look at this Baltimore Ravens team. First of all, in week one, I try my best to find underdogs. I try to avoid favorites at all costs in week one of the National Football League. But we've all talked about the success the Ravens have had, or at least their attempt to have success in the preseason for many, many, many years. And this preseason wasn't as strong as they've had in years past, but usually that translates into week one. And looking at the Ravens, they are 6-0 their last 6 games in week one, and a favorite of this point spread range. As far as the Houston Texans, they are 0-6 their last 6 opportunities as an underdog in this point spread range. The Baltimore Ravens and Coach Harbaugh have done very well against young quarterbacks, averaging just 10 points allowed and 25 points for. I think everything's kind of cleared up now with this Ravens team. They're looking very healthy, and they're one team that I can expect to put my money on, and I feel good about them getting off to a really good start. Now, I'm somebody that doesn't really like the backdoor cover. I mean, no one likes getting backdoor covered, but I released this as a -9.5 full game for clients. The free play's been up on my page for quite a long time now, Kelly. Now that the -10 is there, I decided to come on here and give out the first half play. And looking at the numbers from what Lamar Jackson has been able to do in the first half each and every year in week one, it's become very clear that whether or not they've blown teams out in the preseason or whether it's been some close victories, we all know about their streak. Something has translated from the preseason to week one. This team is focused, they're ready. And let's be honest, they have a very young team, a team that nobody's really high on, and I don't think will be able to make plays. And I honestly think the Baltimore Ravens defense doesn't get enough respect. Everyone talks about their offense and Lamar Jackson. I'm not saying it'll be that hard to stop this Texans team, but I feel like the Ravens defense will prove themselves in week one. So let's avoid the backdoor cover. We're not going to take the -10 now because the -9.5s are mostly gone. We'll take the first half number here on the Baltimore Ravens week one NFL action.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Baltimore Ravens being a very popular survivor pick for week one. It's going to be tough for them to lose that game versus Houston. Let's hope they can get it for you. Hey, maybe it does land 10. Maybe your 9.5 is good. That's why we bet the key numbers. First half -5.5 versus the Texans for Andrew. We're going to pivot to CFL, but before we do, remember, guys, jump in the chat box if you have a NFL hockey question. Maybe there's like an early hockey total, season win total Andrew can give out for us. Anything fun like that. But let's talk about Saskatchewan and Winnipeg. Andrew, I have not watched a single game this year, but I have cashed some winners from you. Who do you like today in the CFL?
Kelly, I gotta say, before I go into this game, I'm gonna be stealing an idea from you this year, and I've seen the work you've been doing with your 32-day countdown in the NFL. I might do that in the NHL. It seems cool. It's great for content.
I love that.
They're nice and quick, so I might steal an idea from you. So it's a good idea, and I love the season win totals, the season point totals in the NHL. So keep an eye out for that, guys. But Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Saskatchewan Roughriders. This weekend is rivalry week in the CFL, Kelly. This one here is called the Banjo Bowl, which is always entertaining here in Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan, a place that also known as the place where you can do nothing. And there's nothing really going on besides football. So one time I was interviewing a reporter about the CFL, and he told me that the waitress at a diner would know the Saskatchewan Roughriders depth chart better than she'd actually know the menu to her own restaurant. They're diehard fans. Big home field advantage. I'm not a huge home field, team kind of guy. I am buying in with the Saskatchewan Roughriders this week, getting 7 in the hook. I like getting that +7.5 here. Despite being down to their third string quarterback, Jake DeLagala finally seems to have from him. And realistically,
looks like we have some tech issues from Andrew.
The lineup.
Apologies there. Andrew, I hate to cut you short, but we are losing you, my guy. Let's see if maybe Andrew can't get a refresh. We'll get back on here with a couple questions. We have a few minutes left on the show. All right, Andrew, let's pick that up where we left off.
Yeah, my apologies, guys. Pretty much, look, this Winnipeg Blue Bombers team has been a top of the league team for many, many years, but they're very known for playing down to their competition. They did that to the Edmonton Elks, who's the last place team in the league a few weeks back. And they're a team that I don't really see blowing out many teams. And if they do, it's not going to be coming off a game like they had last week against Montreal. Saskatchewan's defense been stepping it up. Their running game's been strong. And like I said before my connection came out, Jake DeLagala, quarterback for the Roughriders, has been playing very well, coming off his strongest performance of the year. And I do respect the home field advantage of the Roughriders. So look for this Winnipeg team to give up more points than people might think. 7.5 is a lot of points in the CFL. I like the points I'm getting here with Saskatchewan plus 7.5.
Fun fact, I used to babysit for a kid whose dad played on the Roughriders. Yes, I am that old. That being said, Andrew, we got a question from the chat box. Let's see, we're going back to the Texans game. I've been waiting for this line maybe to shade to 10.5 to hop on the Texans. Andrew, how do you feel about that?
Well, Kelly, I mean, look, I would say that from a numbers perspective, if you're strictly a numbers person, you'd be getting the better number that way. But to be honest with you, I wouldn't be so strong on the minus 9.5 and even liking the minus 10 if I could sit here and recommend the plus 10.5. I honestly don't think this is one of those games that is going to rely on a half a point or a point or two. But lately, especially, and you know, learning from you, Kelly, learning from so many great handicappers, I'm allergic to betting bad numbers. I hate betting bad numbers. So I'm happy to get the minus 9.5. If you can get that plus 10.5, you will be getting a great number on the Texans side, but I don't think they'll be ready in week 1, to be honest with you. So I'd probably stay clear. I think realistically, if you think the Texans are going to be a team that can compete week 1, my best bet would be to take their team total over. I've become a huge team totals guy. It's part of my big run. I'm up 20 units in the MLB last 25 days. Most of those bets are team totals. And in the NFL, I think that's a really good situation where if somebody is waiting for a plus 10.5 on Houston, they probably think they're going to score some points. So just take their team total over and don't worry about what Baltimore's doing.
Very, very interesting like handicap there, Andrew, because you're right. I traditionally just focus on sides, but there are so many other avenues to bet these days. Maybe a team total overlook might be worth a play. Andrew McInnis, we have one more questions. Andrew, first half moneyline Ravens with a BC Lions parlay. Now we're getting a little crazy here, guys. 42. As Andrew said, we like to stay pretty disciplined here. I usually don't recommend money lines, but we do know that sometimes money line parlays that pay even money have been profitable depending on the sport. Andrew, your thoughts?
You know, Kelly, it's funny. I'm pretty pumped I got this question because I never bet money lines in football, ever. I don't think I've ever released or really bet one. And full transparency, today I like the money line on BC, and it's kind of a more expensive price. Just win, baby, is my mindset for tonight. And that's what I'm looking at. They're laying a few points. It's a really big game for them in the standings, and I like the situational spot for them. So I don't mind people trying to find a dance partner with BC. I try and stay away from that. I mostly recommend people to just bet them singularly. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to do that, the math will tell you if you, like, for example, I really like Cyril Gahn tonight in UFC action. He's laying some decent chalk as well. You know, I pretty much have told people I've spoken to, if you don't want to bet the BC Lions in the money line by themselves, you don't want to bet Cyril Gahn by himself, go ahead and put them together. But personally for me, I'm betting them as their own event, and I feel like that's the best way to go. But, I mean, hey, you know I like the Ravens minus 9.5. You know I like them in the first half, and I like BC. So take what you will with that answer. But I'm personally not going to parlay those two together.
Good advice from Andrew McInnis. All right, guys, that is it for last call. We wish you well. Hope you cash a ton of tickets. Again, make sure you like and subscribe to the WagerTalk YouTube channel so that we can bring you this show each and every single Saturday. Check out our other shows. We've got Kelly and Murray, Bet on It, The Hustle, the College Football Show with Adam Trigger, Steve Merrill, and Bryan Leonard this week. Lots of fun stuff before kickoff here in the next 33 minutes. Again, I am Kelly Stewart, and we'll see you next Saturday.